So this is a little bit of a candid reflection upon contemporary conversations in the UFO community, let's say, relating to whistleblowing and things like that. And um, something happened which should be obvious, but it raised certain questions for me, right? Like, do people actually know about false memory? Do they understand how false memory works and how false beliefs and conflations are part and parcel with hypnosis and suggestibility? That's one of the biggest questions I have. Do people know about the complexity of episodic childhood memories that deal with trauma? Do people know how easy it is to generate a trance state, an imaginal experience? Do people know how easy it is to create the conditions by which non-physical entities, let's say, may cultivate an experience for a collective, a group of people who have, are, or will give permission to them to do so, right? Why are people not skeptical about the connections of these sources of disclosure with revolutionary themes? I'm very concerned about that. Why are people not so concerned about the venture funding of this sort of truth movement? These are really strong questions I have based in experience. Why blue instead of orange is another big question I have. So I'm offering these questions because I believe that a number of people are going to be questioning their own memory of childhood. You're going to be questioning your memory of childhood. You're going to, I'm a special, I'm a special girl, I'm a special boy, and that someone knew it, and someone selected me to be something special, and that gives a meaning and explanation and understanding to this long complex of challenged aspects of life. Right now, if you look into the history of those who bring forward this narrative, you'll see right around 2023, there's a transformative movement, a movement of going, hey, I need something, right? Universe, help me, right? That's the same movement that we got with our friend Chris Bledsoe, right? This sort of, God, help me. God does help. God works in mysterious ways. And if you want to call some people God, that's okay by me because I'm a mystic and I understand that awareness embodies, God embodies in all beings, in this light and in this darkness. And so when we say that God is responding to our prayers and yet he works in mysterious ways, we might understand and start to understand some of the technological and psychological complexes that God himself, herself might have. And so I'm sharing this video as a way to invite contemplation around what it means to actually investigate childhood memories of trauma that you don't remember. Right? That's what this is about. This that investigation has been understood since the 90s. How that works has been actually understood since the 90s. And there's evidence of its operalization. Just think about how you would do that. How would you do that? You know, I might use that if I were less ethical to coerce or encourage certain people who have a certain vulnerability to believe a certain thing, and that certain thing may be true in part, but may not be the whole truth. And so in that way, there's a cultivation of something that might look like a puppet, to be honest. Looks like a puppet to me. A puppet meaning a doll, a magical doll that holds special significance. And this sort of thing may actually have been done in the past with human sacrifice. I don't know. So there's this sort of putting the hopes of a collective on an individual and doing something to that individual to appease the gods. That's what this looks like to me. Um, And I'm offering this contemplation for people who are tuned into what I'm saying, right? This is the kind of my flock who know the words I use, right? And the language I use to communicate about these things, so that you will not be questioning, but that we will not necessarily have to interface with the inevitability of contributing one's testimony to an Asclepion that you don't understand, right? So this is the final warning, I suppose I'll say, is there's a magical power of holding testimony. There's a magical power holding testimony. This receiving testimony, receiving reports, there's actually a magical power associated with this. I've described this in part in the past. I've hypothesized about it. That's one of the reasons why I'm working in this way. Now, sharing your testimony creates a sense of reality of those experiences and those experiences with the others, let's say. So sharing your testimony is one of the primary means by which we create and shift realities, especially dealing with the non-human, let's say. So we might then start to contemplate. Why don't we ever see these databases? Where are they? Who's holding them? Why don't we ever actually see the results of these citizen science reports? Right now, I've done citizen science. I've published my open data sets on Tableau Public and other ways. I know the level of traffic I'm actually getting to those things. And I know that the public citizenry is not actually concerned with the data that these so-called citizen science databases are collecting. I just know that because I've been watching this since my master's degree in 2013. So like, where is this? What's going on? There's something else happening. And that thing that's happening may look like something to people who are initiated within certain contexts, may look like something else. And that's totally fine. But unless you actually understand that's something else, be skeptical, be questioning. And I don't think those issues that we might foresee associated with this type of machination, right, whatever is happening here, right, we could perhaps avoid those, or perhaps even integrate that sense of movement with our own, right? So this is a thing of consciousness, and this is a thing of power, right? And so what is true power in this situation? What is true power? That's the question I'll leave you with. What is true power in this situation? And how are you going to keep yours?